Hello, and welcome to Lucy's Big Beautiful World of Painting. I'm really happy to be here today, again, to show you a floral painting, which is one-stroke inspired. In my past, I'm a retired one-stroke director, and I used to do certifications in one-stroke. So I'd like to show you today how, rather than doing a one-stroke method in acrylic painting, that it can actually be done in oil, okay? And I know that a lot of people use W oils, and that works great. I am using traditional oil paint, and I'd like to show you how I came about to do this pretty floral painting, okay? So first, I'm going to apply some Fast Flo White. I have a Wilson Bickford Fast Flo White, which is a nice lubricant for my canvas. I'm using a wrapped 16 by 20 canvas today from Sunbelt Manufacturing. And I'm just first going to pour out some like this. I'm not going to tip it because it's going to spill, okay? So hopefully you can see that. I'm using a big brush. Big number 2, a 2-inch scenery brush, okay? And I'm going to start to put some of this on the canvas by just rubbing it in, all right? So I'm going to rub it in, coming back to my palette, and we want to get this all in these little ridges. Now, this kind of canvas has a bit of a tooth to it, which means this background canvas, it's kind of a little rough, okay, but I'm still going to be doing flowers on it. So this canvas has a bigger tooth to it, which a lot of artists prefer to use just for landscapes, but I'm kind of winging it today, okay? I'm going to try it with the flowers and see how it goes. So I am just getting this nice, slick, fast flow on. I'm not putting as much down here. I'm just kind of rubbing it in there because that's going to be dark green. All right, there we go. So I hope that you probably can't see that. You might just see a little bit of shine, but I did put it on there, and there is my fingerprint, okay? If you do some fingerprints, then you can show, see, it's a little more on that side. If you can show where you missed, and sometimes if you kind of look from the side, you can see where it's shinier, okay? So now that I have that on, I can start applying the color. So what I'd like to do is just start with a little bit of yellow. This is a really rich cadmium yellow. Might even be a little bit too much. So I'll just come over here in my Fast Flow and take a peek. All right, now, oh, that's really yellow. And I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna spread it around the yellow. And this is like a folk art painting, so I'm not real worried about it looking, you know, realism. As long as we get some pretty colors on here, some pretty flowers, it'll be an attractive painting. You can see I'm just really rubbing this in. You can hear, I'll stop talking for a second. You can actually hear the noise that it's making, and that's okay. As long as that doesn't bother you, I don't mind a little noise. All right, here we go. So I have some nice yellow on there. I'd like to come in with a little bit of orange. Same thing, this is a really rich orange. So I may come over here and put it with my white a little. You can see I have some nice orange there. And put in some orange. Let's get some color in there. All right, I'm coming right up to the top, and I can always blend this out a little better. All right. I see a little bit of the wood coming through there, and that could just be because I had some objects on top of this canvas before I came, so might have pushed it down a little bit. That usually doesn't happen. That's my fault. All right, here we go. Have some orange. I'm just pushing it in, rubbing it in with the yellow, and I see a lot of yellow up here, so I'm gonna go take some yellow, just moving it around, moving it around. Okay, there we go. I think that looks pretty with the orange in there. So now that I have some yellow and some orange, I'm going to start doing some green. I'm not even washing out my brush. I'm just gonna tap in some green, because right now I just want a little bit of a light green in there. And it's gonna mix in with the coloring and the white that's already on the canvas. There we go. So again, I'm swirling it in. This is going to be like a little grassy area where our flowers are gonna come up. And it doesn't matter if it's light, dark, that's very nice. We have all different colors in there. Again, I'm just kind of rubbing it. I'm gonna try to rub it into that corner there. I'll have to fix this later and just push that canvas out, but for the sake of the lesson, I just want you to see what I'm doing there. So now we have a lighter green, so now I'm gonna come and I'll put a little bit of a heavier green, because now I want that darker green on the bottom. So I'll start down here and even a little bit more, little dark green. So this is a really pretty background that you could do for any of your paintings, really. You can use different colors, of course. You could come in and have it be blue like a regular sky, okay? So I'm just doing this in kind of a folk art fashion today and making circles, circles and circles, a little more paint. You can see I'm just pulling the paint out from the bottom. All right, I'm not using any medium because the paint is mixing with the medium that's already on the canvas, and I want these variations of green. So I'm not going to be blending all the way up into the green that I already put on, all right? You see I need a little bit more. And I'm trying to add a little at a time because I don't want to add a lot of paint because I'm going to be painting right on top of this background. But I do want it dark enough and slick enough that my next layer of paint goes on. And I don't want it too dark because I want my leaves, my slider leaves that I'm putting on top to be darker, okay? So there we have it. So we have a really pretty colored background, okay? So I'm gonna be putting down this big brush because I won't need that again. And I'm going to be going right now to a flat brush, okay? And coming right in the green, I'm going to start doing some long leaves. Now for this, I need my paint to be pretty slick. So what I want to do is I'm going to add a little bit of medium. You can use safflower oil, linseed oil, whichever oil that you're more comfortable with. I mix my own oil and I use a little bit of walnut and sun-bleached linseed oil. So I am dipping quite a bit in that oil and you'll see it dripping there. And I want my paint real slick. You can probably see, I hope if I turn it a little, you might be able to see how it's a little shinier here than here because I put that oil in. All right, now I'm going back, putting more. I'm going to come in the side of my brown paint and I just want to get a little bit of brown on that corner, okay? Just to make that leaf have a dark edge. And here we go. Now, I'm going to show you how I'm pulling this leaf up from the bottom. I'm starting flat. Let me move this out of the way. And I'm going to just get it started here, and I'm pushing, 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 and turning. Now, you can see how dry that is. I don't have enough paint or enough oil. And I knew it was dry here. I wanted to show you that that means I did not have enough oil, okay? So I'm going back, I'm putting more oil and more paint. So I need a lot more to make that big stroke. So I'm just ignoring that there was that brown in there, and I'm getting more paint, more oil. It may take a couple times until I get it right. I'm going back in just to the side. I'm gonna start again and see if I have enough on it now. And I have a little bit more on, and there we go. So now what I can do is I can just come back in and fill this in, okay? So this is going to be a really big slider leaf. So you can see, after I put it on, I'm just going back and forth. I'm lifting and turning to get that edge there, okay? So I'm starting out with a heavy pressure, and then I'm lifting and turning. Here we go. Lifting and turning. And I can come back in here and fill this in. You can see just painting back and forth. Okay, so that's a really big, big leaf. And I have a little dark down here and none up top. There we go. So that's how we can put in leaves. So depending on time, I will do a couple more because I do want to show you some daisies. So I can see now, because of the tooth of this canvas, I'm going to need a lot of paint and a lot of oil. So I'm going to come back to the oil again. And I'm just putting little bits at a time out. And a lot of artists use cups. And in the station here, I didn't bring a cup with me. So I'm just kind of winging it here. I'm using a lot of oil. Here we go. I'll try to get some brown on there. And I'll just come in over here. Now I'm on the side. I'm going to make a smaller one, okay? So you can see I got some brown in there that time. and coming right back up, pushing, 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 and going to get more paint. And pushing, pushing, and sliding up right off the canvas there. And I can go back down again, okay? Now, if you were using acrylic, you would use a floating medium. That would help. That helps your paint slide and move more, okay? But since I'm using oil paint, I'm using the oil with it. This can be done in acrylic, and it can also be done like this in oil or even W oils, water-soluble oils from Martin F. Weber has a great W oil. All right, I'm gonna put a couple more. Have one coming this way. Now, I don't have a picture in mind right now. I just wanna make sure you can see how easy it is to get some of these long leaves on. So I'm lifting the pressure. You can see as I'm getting higher, I'm just lifting the pressure. Coming back, getting more, okay? So I can do even a fern, okay? So maybe a fern, I'm on the chisel edge and I might just draw it in the way I want my fern to be, okay? So right now I'm not worried about which way everything's going. I just want to get this lesson out to you. You can see I'm really mixing that in, getting that oil in there. Now, I'm doing a regular leaf. I'm on the side of the brush. I'm pushing, 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 turning, and lifting. Now, I know I made that look easy, and it's not that easy. You really would need to practice this, okay? So I would suggest that you get paper and get out some paint and just practice. Use a good flat brush, and I'm pushing, 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 lifting, and turning. All right? So pushing, pushing, again, pushing, lifting, and turning. All right? And I'm just going to do this fern. Again, push and turn. All right? Now, let's look at the angle again. I'm laying the brush, I'm pushing, pushing, and I'm lifting as I'm turning it a bit. All right? So it's not a big turn. You don't turn. You lay the brush down and pull the leaf out, okay? See, I'm going right off. Now that's a little square because I'm going slower, and that's fine. In nature, leaves are all different shapes and sizes. Look, I'm pulling that longer. All right, and I swoop down a little, that's okay. There we go. And I'm gonna make this one even bigger, all right? Now, you see it's a little bit of dry in here, a little bit of dry. You like that language there? A little bit dry. So I can come over it again. And I can push this a little bit and come again. And I'm doing it the opposite direction, so it's coming out a little off, but that doesn't matter. Again, in nature, we have all different leaves. So again, I'm pushing, 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 lifting. You can see that tooth of the canvas in there, and if that bothers you, you just go back. So it just depends on if you have a student grade canvas, professional canvas. It depends what you buy. There it is. There's another leaf. A little dry in there. I don't mind it, because it gives it a little texture. Now, what I'll do is I can come right back in here. I'm on the chisel edge, and I can come back in here and neaten this up, okay? So, we have some long leaves. We have a little fern on there. Maybe I'll put another couple down here, and I could always add more after I put some flowers on. So, it's a little hard with the canvas here, but I'm gonna try to just for placement, push a couple in here, all right? So that one's a little straight, and I need a little more oil. So I'm just coming over, getting some oil down there, and gonna push that oil right in there. And I just wanna show you real quick how to highlight, not highlight, sorry, we could highlight, but also add some darks in here, okay? So I have some grasses sticking up. I'm just gonna come in to my dark, and all I did was put some on the side, and here we go. If you put a little on the side, you can just come right in. Now I have a little dark on that side. And maybe I'll come in on this side, and a little bit came off there. You can see I'm side loading it. There we go, and putting a little dark in there, okay? If you wanted to put a little highlight, you can come in with a little bit of yellow, all right? So right now I have dark on the brush, so I'm just gonna leave that as is. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to go to a different brush, a filbert brush. I want to get a couple of daisies on there so I can at least show you a few flowers, all right? And sorry, I'm having a little trouble getting out of my easel there, all right? Same thing, I'm just coming into some of this oil here that was kind of dripping along, all right? And here's some white. Now it has to be a little bit wet again, okay? So I can come into this fast flow and mix that in there rather than using the oil, all right? And what I'll do is I'm gonna come in and get a little bit of yellow. All right, we don't want to use that bright white right now. We can though. And I'm going to do a couple of daisies, okay? So just for placement's sake, maybe we'll put one down here on this darker green. Now, it's the same kind of stroke, only I'm using the round filbert brush. I have quite a bit of paint on there. So I'm just going to smooth that out. You can see I'm smoothing that out, okay? So what I'm doing is laying the brush flat. I'm pushing, turning, 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 and lifting. I'm coming underneath here. Pushing, 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 turning and lifting. All right, coming over here, pushing, 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 turning and lifting. Now I have an extra bit of paint on there. I'm not worried about that right now. At home, maybe I would try to go slower and be a little neater, but for the sake of the lesson, I think that it's easy to see. Might be pushing just a little bit too hard, and that's why I'm getting that, and that's okay. So that might be the bottom of the bud or flower that's opening, and we'll put the center in later. So maybe that might be a half daisy, okay? Because that kind of looks like a half daisy. So I'm going to leave that one a half daisy, and I'll push a little one in there. Okay, now I'm going to put the stems in later on. Right now, I'll get a little bit more oil, and I'm going to do a whole daisy, all right? So now, let's put one right about here. So I'll start with the bottom leaves, because they'll be a little shorter. And I'm turning the brush over and pushing. I'm not sure if you could see that, so I am going to come back and put a little bit of yellow in there. I'm going to go over those. I want to make sure that you can see it, and I don't know if it's showing up enough. So I'm going to make them a little more yellow. Pushing, 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 turning. Pushing, 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 turning. I have a little bit too much fluid on there. See that? You can see. That's okay. I could just go right in there and spread that out. All right, so I have to push that paint in. I'm working on it a little more. I don't want it that watery. All right, now I'll come up this way my hand's not blocking. I'm pushing, 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 and turning. Again, too much paint, and pushing, 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 and turning. Now, I'm concerned you won't be able to see it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and put the rest in. Now, these are a little bigger. You can see they're a little bigger than the bottom. And I'm pushing, 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 and turning. Now, a lot of people like this kind of texture on the edges, and a lot of people don't. So I'm just going to leave that there, all right? I'm going to wipe my brush off just a little bit, and I am going to go to the white, okay? I'm taking some over. I'm just going to go to the white. I want to make sure that it stands out enough so you can see. And I want to put another daisy in here, all right? So I think I'll put one right here. So I'm going to come up again from the bottom. Oh, I think you'll be able to see that better. All right, you can see, holding the brush flat, pushing and turning. Again, too much paint. See how I could fix it? Don't have to though. Pushing and turning. Again, pushing and turning. I'm making them a little bigger up top, so I'm going up a little higher. I'm pushing a little harder. Pushing, turning. It's the same kind of stroke. Pushing, turning, and I'm turning it in. Now we'll put the middles on, okay? So that might be a little daisy off to the side there. All right? So I could always put more daisies. What I'd like to do is just show you that it's so simple just to dab the middle. All right? So I'm just going to take some paint off of this brush. I'm just coming over to my paper towel, wiping a little bit off. And I'm coming over to this really, really bright orange, okay? So orange is the color of the day over here today. I love orange. All right, and I'm just going to come in and dab, dab, dab. All right, there's the middle. Wiping some off. I got a lot of white on there still. All right, coming into the orange again and dabbing in the middle. Now, if I over dab, I'm going to pick up so much of that color you won't see any of that orange. So I'm trying not to over dab. You have to say, okay, a couple times, done. Here we go. Coming into the orange again. And dab, 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 okay? Simple, simple middles of the flowers. What I like to do is just show you now that we have to pull some stems down, all right? So I can use the same brush that I was using before, which is the flat brush, all right? And just coming in here, and I see I just stuck my finger in that white paint. That's okay, and try to wipe that off, there we go. Always a little mishap with oil painting. Now, I could just come right in here and you could see I'm holding it on the chisel edge and pulling down. Just pulling very lightly, pulling down, all right? And I can come in here. Anything I see now would be the time I can try to fix up a little. So we have 3 daisies. Now, we'll need a couple of leaves on those daisies, right? So first what I could do is I can pull up some leaves at the bottom, get a couple in there. You can see it's pretty dry, and that's okay. I'll go over it a couple times, fill that in with paint. Over here, I can just have one coming up. Don't worry about going right over the other leaves you made, that's fine. I mean, they always overlap leaves, right? I can see I needed to even that out. I'll come back over, and this one seems to be okay. So what I could do with this is I can come in and I can put a little leaf. All right, just little leaf. Now, you can see I'm on the chisel edge, but I'm not pushing like I was. I'm making thin ones, all right? Just to get some thin ones in there. There we go, all right, put a couple more. So with this kind of painting, you can come in and you can add as many or as little flowers as you want, all right? So look, I'm cutting right through the paint there. Cut right through. Want it to even that out a little. And sometimes the more you do, the worse it gets. But just the idea to show you, now we have some pretty daisies. If I wanted to put another color, I can put another color. There's so many colors of daisies and black-eyed Susans and different flowers that you could put in here very, very easily. So let's see, maybe I'm just looking at a little picture, seeing if maybe I can do something else. Maybe we'll get, oops, I see my red is running out there. Maybe we could get a little red in there just to see how that red would look, okay? So I'm just wiping off a little bit of my brush and I'm back onto my my filbert brush, okay? And what I'm doing is I'm putting red on one side of the brush, and I think I'll come over here and I'm gonna just run through this white. And we're just gonna kind of see what we get here, okay? So, I think I'll do maybe a chrysanthemum. Now the chrysanthemum has a lot of petals, okay? Now, it doesn't have to be a chrysanthemum. Whatever it comes out to be, it's some kind of flower, right? So, there we go. I'm just putting one side in the red and one side through that yellowish white I had and pushing. And I'll turn the brush over and I'm pushing. All right, so this could just be another daisy too that has different colors, because you could see some of that white kind of came through. All right, I can wipe off my brush. I'm just barely wiping it, just the idea to get some of that heavy, heavy paint off it. Make it a little bit easier. I can go right into red on both sides now. And I can come in and I can put in some little petals in the middle. All right, so now I'm just kind of winging it as I'm going along. I just want to show you the difference when you start to put colors in, what happens, okay? I'm not real thrilled with this shape and all, but just so you get an idea, and I lost my petals, so all I have to do is come in and I could just put a little bit of white in there and then you'll see it. So I don't really know what kind of flower that is, but it looks pretty. So I'm sure there's some kind of flower someplace in nature that looks like that. I just want to show you the difference is when you start to add more flowers and more coloring, how you can make a beautiful painting, okay? So then I may just come in with a little bit of yellow and white and just dab this middle, all right? So I'm going to wipe off my brush again. What I'd like to do is I'd like to go back and put in maybe another daisy, but I don't want to wash out that brush right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a clean, large brush, all right? I want to show you how you could even do daisies with the big brush, and it looks like I just got a little blue in there, but that's okay. Whatever happens, happens, right? It's the lesson. We want to learn this lesson today. So we have 4 flowers. Maybe I'll put one right about here, and I want to show you how you can do the same stroke with a flat brush, okay? I'm going to start at the bottom, at the top, sorry. I want to make sure my hand is not blocking. So there's a petal, petal, petal. See, I'm pulling it in, all right? Petal, petal. Now, this one looks a little squared, all right, and that's okay too. There's all kinds of flowers. Who knows what that one could be? It's a pretty flower though. So then I could just take the corner of the brush, dip it in some yellow, and I can come back in here and get some yellow in there. And I could even come back while I have that on the brush, put a little more in there. Okay, so there's a lot. I can come back in and I can highlight these centers. There's really so much I could do with this. I could add more, but now what I want to do is just add in that stem. So we have the stem. So I'm just going back into my green paint, not worrying if it matches or not. And maybe I can pull it this way. All right, and I can put a couple of the little thinner petals on there. Leaves. All right, that one went right across, okay. So let's see what else we can do. Can add another couple leaves in here. I can go over these if I wanted. I could add more leaves. What I can do is I can show you how to put a highlight on. All you have to do for a highlight is I'm just getting some light colored paint, just kind of dipping with whatever I have in there, and I can start here and I can pull a little highlight up. Okay, so now I'm just adding and adding. So I could pull it right in. I had dark on that side, so then maybe there'll be some light on this side. So to me that looks a little white. Okay, so I'll just come into my green again. And since this is oil paint, you can keep going over and over. Just the idea, you can see now how that leaf is separated. That slider leaf is separated, all right? So maybe we need a little more color on the other side. So I'll come in here. And again, I had a little bit too much white in there, but look what happens if I paint over it. All right? So ideally, that should be done before you start putting your flowers on. That would help you. But I had a little more time, so I just wanted to show you how you can keep adding. All right? So I'm just going over some of those petals. Say I wanted to put a little highlight in my top leaf here. I could just come in here, and you can see I just kind of came on the side. Put a little bit there. Now, lastly, what I could show is we can put a couple of curlicues in, and I'm just wetting my liner brush, making it very liquidy. And this will be the last thing we do. Oh, I didn't pull down a stem from here, so I could just use this brush and pull it down. That's all right. Kind of wing it a little bit there. We can always come in and add more. We can come in and put some lining, which looks nice, okay? And that'll be about it for today. So, see, you can come in and just drag your brush, and you can add more and more and more, and you can keep going and going with it, all right? There's so much you could do. So, like I said, this flower kind of didn't come out the way I would have liked it, but I want to show you how you can start adding your colors in, and you can make a pretty painting, okay, just by using a couple brushes with a couple of strokes. And, you know, don't be afraid to try this in oil. It works. You just have to get used to the medium and all. All right, so I think that's it for today. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to write to me at painted, the number 4, letter U, by Lucy, yahoo.com, or you can come over to my website, www.lucysworldofpainting.com, and you can come there and you can see a lot of different paintings and animal portraits, all kind of stuff to look at. So I hope that you'll come over and see me and write to me and tune into my other shows. Thanks again.